Welcome to the broadcast, my dears. She's at it again. She's waltzing around the yard. She must have a lot of her time on her hands, this Duchess, mustn't she? Waltzing around the yard she is, sniffing blooms. So fragrant, so gorgeous. You know, she and Harry remind me of two hounds, sniffing each other before the hunt. Snuffling for truffles. Yes, that's what they put me in mind of. Remember, Harry told us that his favourite smell in the world is my wife. My wife. The aroma of the Duchess thrills him.
I know exactly when she's in heat. Yes, I do. When my wife is in heat and in need of siring, I know. I can sniff it out. And my wife, of course, can tell exactly what mood I'm in by sniffing my bottom. Yes, she likes to do that, and I love it too. Sniff, sniff.
Meghan is dressed in her laundry again. It looks like she's snatched it off the line and slung it all over herself, doesn't she? She likes to wear the bed sheets, and she likes to flap about in them. Harry likes her flaps too. At least somebody does. Indeed they are, I must say, in all seriousness, beautiful flowers. Beautiful flowers. My silk flowers and my Capodimonte roses don't compare very favourably, I'm afraid. My budget does not run to her fabulous blooms. I can't compete. And I must at this moment wish the Harkles a very happy 7th anniversary. 7 years, 7 deadly sins, 7 ways to love, said Cola Boy. Well, I've always said, and I remember saying it to you guys, over the years, 7 years is coming, 7 years is coming, because I actually do believe that there is something in the 7-year itch. From my own observations, I do think that there is something around the 7 years that proves to be a little bit of a hurdle. If overcome, that can be very strengthening and bonding through a marriage. But it is a challenge. So we shall see what goes down before the 8th. I should mention, by the way, that I brought in a new table to show you, but it's out of shot, so you can't see it. That was a bit useless, wasn't it? I'll throw in a bit of footage for you. But I'm so pleased with it. I'm absolutely in love with this little table that I brought actually for my bedchamber, because throughout all of the rooms here, there is a lot of bespoke cabinetry that was put in years ago, I suppose over 20 years ago. And it's quite ugly. And it's not very beautiful. So I'm having it all ripped out and putting some freestanding furniture in the place, and I found this lovely Victorian table. Isn't it gorgeous? It's oak, of course, and it's a nice size so that I can move it around. It's quite portable, you know. I managed to bring it in here, even though you can't see it. And by the way, I was able to confirm that this building is definitely Victorian, because I wasn't sure. I was told that it was on the cusp of Victorian and Edwardian, you know, 1900 to 1910. It's old, but it's not super old, you know. But I managed to unearth some maps of the area from the 1890s, and it was here. It was here in the 1890s, so at least I definitely know that it was Victorian. It wouldn't have been pre-Victorian, but it's useful for me to know with the decorating, to understand this and the styling, because I want to reveal some of that old character and reintroduce things like cornicing and ceiling roses, this sort of thing. So it's all very helpful. But I love this piece, and what really won me over was, of course, the depiction of the Green Man that's carved into the drawer handles. I've been calling him Whiskers. And I already feel that he is or all three of them, are very protective of me, yes, in my bedchamber. So woe betide anyone that tries to mess with me, because I've got the Green Man at hand. And do you remember we learned about the Green Man during the coronation, didn't we? Because he appeared on the coronation invitations, which was rather interesting. Controversial to some with pagan associations, but he's said to symbolise nature and rebirth over centuries and centuries. 7 years of marriage was celebrated by Meghan in this vulgar cavalcade, a lifetime of stories. A lifetime of stories, she tells us. Is that Meghannian for lies, my dear? A lifetime of lies, because that's what you've given us. She tells us, doesn't she? She tells us. that she is the storyteller that we all suspect her to be. Thanks to all of you, whether by our side or from afar, who have loved and supported us throughout our love story. We appreciate you. Happy anniversary. Oh, isn't it sickening? So vomit-inducing. Our love story, she says. Well, it's vulgar, it's grotesque, and it's a narcissistic display of schmaltz. She also shared some previously unseen photographs to try and titillate us all. She shared milestones of her journey, and the handwritten lyrics of Stand By Me as performed at their wedding. Oh, what a cliché. And she's got her claw all over everything. The claw is clutching at everything with her curlicues. The 2016 selfie, when the courtship and the ensnaring and the entrapment of Harry began. It was Operation Princess Meghan, and you better believe it. She had heard of Operation London Bridge, and she thought to herself, when London Bridge comes falling down, and the dusty old White Queen Liz leaves this earthly plane, Operation Princess Meghan must go into the next gear, full throttle into Operation Queen Meghan. Do you understand? There is a photograph of their second date. How cosy. An unflattering rear view of Harry. Actually, I've never seen a flattering view of the boy, truth be told. They're looking at elephants in Botswana, and I can't remember when they first had sex. I can't remember when they first went to home base, can you? I'm trying to recall paragraphs of Spare, and I seem to recall, doesn't he mention they spent one night at some sort of cheap motel somewhere? Some sort of seedy dive where they managed to have a quick, cheap shag. I can't remember the exact details, and I don't really want to. But then we have 2017 and the Northern Lights of Norway, and an unseen image of the day that he proposed, that fateful day. And she's marked one of these photographs. Engagement photos. Yeah, engaged like a toilet cubicle. She brandishes her coat of arms to signal her duchesshood. And of course, do you remember, it was infused with all her creativity and flair to represent the California girl, the beam of sunshine. Because she couldn't wait to get back there, could she? And then it's Archie's ultrasound scan, which I think she furnished us with a few years ago, didn't she? Well, Meghan, I don't want to see inside your womb, thank you very much. And before the conspiracy theorists begin yelping at me, I don't care whose womb it is, hers or anybody else's, I don't care to see inside, I'm afraid. I understand that it's ubiquitous these days and everybody goes about sharing, and I can understand it between family members, but I find it utterly infradig, beneath dignity, to share it on social media. I'm sorry, this is something sacred, something holy. Is everything to be shared? Well, I am rather old-fashioned, and I prefer that some things do have a sense of the taboo about them, I'm afraid. Yes, I do. For example, a lady's cycle, and I don't care who it offends, you know. I don't believe in any public discussion of that, other than the educational, of course. We see characters like Sophie and the Queen, actually, Queen Camilla, speaking on these subjects in an educational, helpful manner with various groups. And of course, amongst friends, it's absolutely fine, you know. Sharing information with girlfriends or gay friends, you know. That's all fine, well and good, but to declare to strangers, you know, around the workplace, shall we say, that you're not especially familiar with, you know, you hear that going on sometimes. Oh, yeah, I'm on the rag, telling everyone they're on the rag, or they've got the decorators in, and all kinds of vulgarities, and going on about bleeding, you know, using all of this. I mean, my ancestors would be appalled, you know, the ladies in my family, and some of yours, I'm sure, might be appalled at the vulgarity of it all these days, and the way that it's all on show and discussed, because it shouldn't be a secret. We shouldn't hide it. It shouldn't be taboo. Well, actually, in most circumstances, it is, and you should. In my opinion, not all, but in many situations. Same goes for nose blowing in public. There are occasions when it cannot be helped, but I see so many with this sort of organisation of their hankies and tissues, completely unself-consciously, especially with men, very, very loud, blowing and gusting all over the place. when it is not necessary. I've never done it. And then there is the subject of public romance and public displays of affection. Save it for Paris and for Rome. Other than a little gentle hand or a little glance of affection here or there, which you see with the Waleses, we don't need big old slobberings that you see with the Harkles and anything else more vulgar. Now, of course, there are exceptions. As you all know, I lost my virginity to an Eskimo at the bungalow in Santa Monica in a cubicle in the ladies' loos, and I was wearing stilettos and a mini dress at the time. Sweet memories. Well, there are exceptions. I understand that. But that was appropriate. That was appropriate. We were at a sexy club. We were on a hen night, and I happened to brush shoulders with this Eskimo, and he made his desire known. So, that was de rigueur for the time. It's about what's appropriate at the time and the place. And anyway, there wasn't an igloo nearby. So what are you supposed to do? But generally speaking, I'm very old-fashioned. I accept that. I don't care to see pregnant women marauding around in their later stages. No, I don't care to see it. I prefer it if they gently sort of dissolve under a veil of domestic privacy in the later stages, as the late Queen did. You see, she was pregnant 4 times, 4 pregnancies, and the little glimpses of her visibly pregnant are so rare that the images we have of that can only be counted on one hand. So no, it doesn't mean that I'm a woman hater and I can't accept the machinations of womanhood. I think it's a marvel, but I simply retain some of the attitudes of another era, and that is all. That is all. Not every aspect of every person is malleable or mutable, bending to fashion. Do you understand? And people who chew gum inappropriately, which also happens to be a lot of men, I've got to tell you. My own daddy did, especially when I was a child, used to chew a lot of chewing gum. And actually, that was fine, I'm talking about the estate agent when they give you a tour, or the bus conductor when he's arranging your ticket, and they're chewing away and chomping away. This is in for a dig. And also eating on the tube and on the bus. Oh, that's terrible, one of my pet. It makes me retch when they start unpacking their sarnie, and you get the whiff, don't you? When they start chomping it with their sarnie and a packet of crisps. It can be something as seemingly inoffensive as that. I don't like it. It gives them the heebie-jeebies. And it's even worse, to be honest, and to be fair to them, when they try and be quiet. Start masticating as quietly as they can. That's even more annoying. You just think, just get on with it and do it loudly. You understand? So I do have some sympathy with that one. Of course I do. I know what it's like to be hungry on public transport. But I've actually managed to get through these situations without encroaching onto anyone else. So I don't understand why it's difficult for other people. And also when I'm on trains, let's say I take a seat near the aisle, on the aisle with people coming past me. There's not one journey I take when people don't bustle into me as they come past, whether it's with their own arms and elbows or thighs or their luggage. Bristle past and bump past and knock. In all my years, I have not done that once. Yeah, I'm slender, so I have an advantage. But I'm not just talking about fat people. I'm talking about fat people, thin people, and everything in between, my dear. It doesn't matter the size. People just don't have any sort of sense of spatial awareness, do they? I mean, it's a scandal, truly. And we won't even get started on headphones and cell phones and all the rest of it, my dear. It's a minefield out there, isn't it? It's a minefield. Well, another intimate photo was shared that was taken after Archie's arrival. And then there was another one on the beach at Norfolk. And then they were kissing in front of some palm trees in Mexico. And some idyllic photos of the children playing in the yard, having a tea party. And then some before and after shots of that occasion where they appeared in red at the Mountbatten Festival of Music. Well, the mood that this mood board conjures up for me is a feeling of great artifice. It's unnatural, it's contrived, it's showy, it's vulgar, it's crass, it's narcissistic, and it's very teenage, isn't it? It's so immature. I mean, young at heart is one thing that I encourage and I approve of, but this is like the locker room at Rydell High. Do you understand? So immature. Awful. And of course, it's contrary to their stated desire for privacy. For privacy! We want our privacy! And I noticed that Prince Harry's been trying a little bit of damage control this week, with a significant donation to a community food project in Nottingham. The Himmer charity said that the donation will fund over 650 food parcels for vulnerable families. Was that all? 650? This charity tackles poverty, racism and social exclusion. And these are all situations which Meghan claims to have suffered. And so, Uncle Bob, that's Lord Robert Fellowes to you. He was married to Lady Jane Spencer, Diana's sister, of course, and he died last July, at the age of 82. We covered it. He was a working member of the royal household and was private secretary to Queen Elizabeth, and he left £1.5 million in his will, which is actually a paltry sum for his ilk, but the rich know how to plan for death. Well, apart from his wife, and I think his son and a few smaller beneficiaries, there were no further bequeathments, and if you recall, Harry made a secret trip to the funeral, a bit of a trolley dash behind the scenes, but he was forced to sit miles apart from William. William didn't want to be seen near the boy. Well, neither of them have been left a penny by Uncle Bob. So you can all get your violins out and send for a food parcel. Cry me a river. A new waxwork of the Princess of Wales was unveiled at Madame Tussauds. The Prince and Princess of Wales flank their Majesties in a replica of the throne room. She wears the Jenny Packham gown of great legend and the lover's knot tiara that was worn to the diplomatic reception in December 2023. The replica tiara was actually worn by a rendition of Diana in the 1980s, so this was taken from the archive of Madame Tussauds. And Mr. Blackburn of Tussauds said, "Kate, majestically crafted by our talented studio team, has been sculpted to ensure her resemblance is fit for a future queen, alongside her dashing husband." You know, I used to pass Madame Tussauds a lot when I was en route to work a few years ago. I worked in Marylebone for quite some time, for several years, so I'd walk from Camden through Regent's Park. Lovely walk every day, there and back. I used to walk a good 4 miles there and a good 4 miles back every day when I worked at that particular place. I miss that walk, actually. But I used to walk a lot past Madame Tussauds, and every time I thought it was so ugly. I mean, the building's not bad, but it's that dome, that green dome, which they call iconic simply because it's always been connected with Tussauds. But it was only when I looked into it today that I realised that it's a copper dome. So originally it would have been the colour of a copper coin, you know, reddish brown as copper begins, but then it oxidises and becomes green, rather like the Statue of Liberty. And I've confessed this to you before, but until I went to New York, I always thought that the Statue of Liberty was white. It was only when I saw it in the flesh, up close, which is a lovely sight, but I said to my friend, "It's green." And she said, "Well, yes, we've never noticed that on the dollars." And I said, "Well, I thought that the dollars were green, but that the statue was white." I don't know why. I mean, I'm a bit of an airhead like Diana and Harry, you know. I'm a bit of a bimbo. It doesn't really sink in. But I thought it was white marble or something, which I think it should be, because I don't like the greenness. To be fair, I hate it. I don't know why. I don't understand why people make these things like the Statue of Liberty and, you know, iconic structures that are supposed to last for generations. Why? Why do they do it? If it fades to this awful green, I don't enjoy it at all. I think it looks ugly, an eyesore. And this dome would be an eyesore in any colour. But anyway, Catherine was, of course, a sight for the sore eyes. She was a feast. And even though the weather was overcast for the next garden party at Buckingham Palace, it was Catherine who brought the sunshine. Of course she did, in this yellow crepe number by Amelia Wickstead that was last seen on Catherine at the celebrations for the Platinum Jubilee. And she wore acorn diamonds to the earlobes. And Mrs. Michael Tyndall, known as Zara, dazzled with that smile. Oh, wasn't she a sexy woman in her prime? Oh yes, very sexy. And Eugenie, with her enviable complexion, made a very pretty picture of a polka-dot princess. Lovely. And the Duchess of Gloucester, serene, serene, she glides through the crowds. Royal expertise in motion. Catherine was reunited with the family of Liz Hatton. Do you remember the young photographer who died last year, very sadly, after she was invited to photograph a royal investiture, which had been on her bucket list. Well, her young brother was there, and he gave Catherine 2 Jellycat toys in honour of his late sister, who used to give them to people who made her happy. Is that nice? And Stephen Frank was there, the Holocaust survivor who Catherine photographed a few years ago. That was rather heartwarming too. And it was In and Out the Dusty Bluebells. Ha ha! Do you remember that? In and out the dusty bluebells, in and out the dusty bluebells, in and out the dusty bluebells, you shall be my partner. Yeah, it was In and Out the Dusty Bluebells at the flower show, because the King, as patron of the Royal Horticultural Society with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, attended the Society's Chelsea Flower Show. And Princess Michael Kent was also there, as was Princess Beatrice. The show runs all week, and it was established in 1913 on the grounds of the Royal Hospital Chelsea, becoming one of the world's greatest showcases for horticultural excellence. And with his crook in hand, the King and the Queen saw the new doggy garden that was designed by Monty Don, with the names of beloved royal pooches incorporated into the brick pathways. The Queen's sister was there, Annabel Elliot. Isn't she gorgeous? Having a good old flirt she was with David Beckham, and taking a selfie with him, which was a little bit vulgar, but we'll give her a pass because I adore Annabelle. And Mr. Beckham thanked the King and the Queen for a 50th birthday gift that he received from them, which I believe was roses. Always well in there with the King and the Queen. They absolutely adore him, don't they? He had private teas at Highgrove with Vicky, and it's a real intimate affair, and it works very well for each other, what can I say? But it was nice of him to wear the new rose that has been named for the King, the King's Rose, named in Charles's honour, a pink and white bloom that's been on the cards for a few years, being carefully nurtured by the King's gardeners at Highgrove over the last 3 years, and here it is revealed, and it's very pretty, isn't it? Now you can choose from Catherine's rose or the King's Rose. What about River's Rose? That's what my basketeers are demanding. River's Rose. They wouldn't be the first to demand my rose. And I certainly wouldn't put up with you sniffing around that, Meghan, so don't get any ideas. At Canada House, celebrations were underway for 100 years of Canada House existing. This was ahead of Their Majesty's visit to Ottawa. They visited Canada House to mark its opening 100 years ago in June 1925. And it's become a symbol of Canada in London and a showcase for Canadian art and culture and heritage. The King was presented with the key to Canada House, echoing a set that was cast in bronze, silver and nickel that was presented to King George V at the official opening back in the day. Whenever I see Ottawa, it's terrible. It just brings to mind Ottawan, you know, the disco group, because I love my disco music, my dear. Love a bit of the old disco. Bring, Hands Up, Baby Hands Up. What was their other hit? I think they only had 2 major hits. I know quite a few of their songs, but Hands Up, Gimme, Gimme. D-I-S-C-O was the other one, wasn't it? Yeah, D-I-S-C-O. Give me a D for Duchess. No! But they weren't Canadian, I know that. They weren't from Ottawa. They were French. C'est la vie. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Canada, oh Canada. Further details of the visit to Canada next week have been released. Oh, we're on the edge of our thrones, aren't we, my dears? The state opening of Parliament is coming up. The state opening of the Parliament of Canada. They will be arriving in Ottawa for a community event, and it's going to showcase the rich cultural heritage and diversity of Canada. Oh, please, please, please. I don't mind the diversity of Canada or anywhere else, but I'm just so sick of that word. Diversity. They have to insert it into every single blurb, don't they? Hitting us over the head with it. Awful, awful. There will be audiences with the Governor-General and the Prime Minister, and Queen Camilla is going to be sworn into the Canadian Privy Council. And as head of state, the King is going to open Parliament and deliver the speech from the throne to the Senate chamber. The Duchess of Edinburgh spent an inspiring afternoon with the staff and students at the Royal School for the Blind charity. She learnt how the school is helping to reshape perceptions of visual impairment, taking part in activities such as table cricket and practising her braille. I lived with a very close friend for a while. Well, for actually quite a few years. We were flatmates, we were schoolmates for a while. We were colleagues for a while. We used to work together and we holidayed many, many, many times abroad. One of my best friends, well, she had a spotty back. That was one. We would complain to each other about our flaws, you understand. She had what she called back knee. She had a really spotty back. Stunning girl. Absolutely beautiful. Actually, we used to say her name's Victoria, but she had a royal look, like slightly horsey and equine, but very fine looking. I love her to bits, but she had a spotty back. It's smooth now, but at the time it was spotty and bumpy. She had this for years. It brought her so much misery, but one of my duties, I got lumped with applying her spot cream to her back every night when we lived together. I used to apply her back knee cream. And I mention that because she used to call it her braille. She used to call the spots on her back. You know, if she had a cotton top over the top of it, she'd say to me, "Oh, I hope he doesn't touch me on the back," or, you know, embrace me and run his hands over me because he'll read my braille. Her bumpy back. So the word always puts me in mind of that, I'm afraid, my friend's spotty back. And also she used to use that cream on her verrucas, which is another thing I used to have to help out with. And then when we were working together in the same building, she got me a job actually at this place. There was an internal post system because we were on different floors. And one day, I might have told you this story before, but I opened an envelope, a mystery envelope in the internal post, and it was her verruca. She had sent it to me in the post, saying, "Oh, we've had success with the verruca cream. It's sort of shed off." Yes, she sent it to me, but I got my revenge, and I sent her my toenails. Oh, was it my fingernails? I put them in a lovely little presentation tissue, and when she was least expecting it, sent them to her. Oh, that was fun. How disgusting. How disgusting. This charity is supporting the next generation of teachers and carers. And Sophie also attended the Autis Visionaries reception at Battersea Power Station in her role as Global Ambassador of the International Agency for the Presentation of Blindness. Isn't it reassuring to know that we have the likes of Sophie to restore some dignity when I bring such infra-dig disgusting moments to the broadcast? Well, I'm off to be disgusting and undignified for the rest of the evening. And I wish you a very splendid evening ahead. I will see you on the next broadcast, my dears. Thank you for joining me. Take care and toodle pip.